in place.
About like 2-3 weeks, but it's a real door. It's can be iron cast. Front and back. Give me that minute. I got some things to do. Yeah, I found this time.
Yeah, we got this. Yeah. Did you get this? Some of this?
Get it from where? Up there?
No.
Go for
Go to
it
League
now.
City, send it to you.
Yeah,
Who is that?
Go to League
typically
City.
fax stuff in.
Unless it's part of their
over to
attachment
the
of the,
fax machine and saw
like
it.
that weekly report they give out, more than likely it probably is.
Get a
I
kick
think
out of
that's a
that.
good thing.
That man is a constant.
The kangaroos had a good.
You know what?
The morning that he was out, he's still out, they still go.
Your friend,
Yeah,
Mr. Fred,
8 minutes ago, they're still out.
and his lawyer.
When is the official week?
And I think you pick your own week within the month.
Oh, okay.
Pick your own week.
Okay. That's here in October.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was legal to do things like that. I guess it's all the process.
October 16th.
Yeah. Oh. Add-ons on that.
Did Sarah move somewhere else? Where?
That's the office. That's the office.
She moved
It ain't
into
no
office residence?
They spent there for no apartment.
What's she gonna say?
Yeah, no, we're talking to someone.
So she's gonna say she's still a resident?
But I think he signed here, it's all office stuff.
Maybe.
We're gonna try for all of us.
Okay, great.
We're gonna try for all of us. All when they come
City Attorney, you ready?
Yes.
City Clerk,
Yes, sir.
City Manager,
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Hill,
Yes.
Commissioner Everett. Ready, Commissioner Everett?
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Vice Mayor Mervin. I call this special meeting of Tuesday, September the 25th, 2018 at 6:12 to order. Purpose of this special meeting is to make final approval of our fiscal year 2018-2019 millage rate and final budget. We would please stand for the invocation given by Commissioner Everett, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Not saying that I'm not prepared to pray, but we do have, Mayor, from this order, pastor of the local United Methodist Church. I would yield to you, sir, if you don't mind.
I don't mind it.
Go ahead.
You do a good job.
Yes, sir.
Father God, I thank you for this gathering of servants and community leaders and people from that live in this area, Father God, for the work that we have at hand here, Father God. So be present amongst us and guide us as we make decisions and do what's best for the folks that live here as we attempt to discern your will as we move forward, Father God. We thank you for each and every person here, Father God, and those that won't be here with us tonight, Father God. And we just ask this in your name, Lord Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mayor Bab,
Present.
Commissioner Everett,
Here,
Commissioner Hill,
Present.
Vice Mayor Mervin,
Present.
Commissioner Walker, City Manager,
Here.
City Attorney,
Present.
Lieutenant Piccolo,
Here.
Interim City Clerk, present.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you, Commissioners, and thank you, staff, and thank each of you for being here to participate in our special meeting in reference to our final millage and final budget. At this time, I'm just turning this over to our city manager. We will be having the two resolution in reference to the millage and the final budget read into the record, and we will have a public hearing on each. City manager.
Thank you, Mayor, Commission, community, thanks for coming out tonight. As the mayor indicated, this is our final approval for the 2018-2019 fiscal budget for the city of Pahokee. As previously mentioned, we've taken care to ensure that the services that need to be provided to the city of Pahokee also aligns with the budget that's provided for this community as well. This ensures that we operate in the black and not in the red. Subsequently, we've had a good 3 years. We've been able to provide the services required of this community that speaks of the budgets that we've had. And this budget is no different. We've done some very creative things, mostly on the conservative side, to ensure that we can address, one, that we maintain services that we have while exploring additional services. And in addition to that, also address compensation, cost of living increases, as well as look to the future for the development of the city of Pahokee. And so that's critical when you're doing a municipal budget. It assures that you are operating not only above board or ethically with public dollars. And typically, you know, that sometimes gets a little muddy when we talk about public dollars and how it's utilized and all of the processes that go into a fiscal governmental budget. It's very intricate, you know, details that sometimes you can't see with a naked eye or with a clear lens unless you're an accountant, you know, on a daily basis. And, you know, I want again thank my staff who work diligently on this budget, the commission who support what this administration is doing. And so We're presenting to you tonight the 2018-2019 budget. Currently, the city of Pahokee owes no debt. We have no outstanding debt outside of contractual services such as PVSO and trash and sewer. We do anticipate we will incur debt in 2019, and those specifically are just projects for improvement for amenities like parks and recreation, et cetera. And so, but the good thing about incurring the debt that we anticipate that we will have is those things will fall into the category of surtax dollars, so they're paid for. It's not $1 out of your pocket. Additionally, it is, but in a sense, it's already paid for. We don't have to, go and search and seek for the money. It's already been set aside through those surtax billing that we receive on a monthly basis. And so, our tax base, as you know, the millage, we're sort of in that area where we're locked into a certain type of tax base unless we build 200 homes here and get 50 new businesses. Our budget is our budget. It's 4.5 or 4.6 in and 4.5 and 4.6 out every year. But with a little creativity for changes. We were very lucky this year to significantly lower our liability insurance. We lowered that, I think, by over $115,000. That's great because we can sort of, put something to the side and also address some of those needs that I mentioned earlier. And we'll continue doing that. Every year between probably May and August, I look at all of our contracts and try to figure out a way to save money. And sometimes it means, revising services, taking away something here and adding something over there to change the dollar amount or the contract amount to ensure that we can save some money. In addition to that, every year from June until I think September, end of September, we go in sort of like a spending freeze, meaning I don't spend money on things that we really don't need. We try to cut back on like paper products, office supplies, et cetera. We only spend money on those primary products that we need for each department to operate. Now that may save us, a couple of dollars here or there, but it's a good practice, and it adds up after a while. But again, this is a great budget for the 2018-2019 fiscal year. Wish I had more, but we will have significant, not significant, but we will have a balanced, approach to the upcoming fiscal year. And we're going to stay out the red and try to be very, prudent with our dollars for 2018-2019. City Attorney.
Mr. Mayor, if you're ready to open the public hearing, I'll read the first resolution.
I now open the public hearing on the first resolution, Resolution 2018-54. City Attorney.
Mr. Mayor, this is a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Pahokee, Florida, fixing the final millage for the fiscal year 2018-2019 on all taxable real and personal property to provide for general fund operating expenses and declaring a tax levy upon said property. Mr. Mayor, the first thing that has to be discussed during this hearing is the percentage of increase over rolled back rate under the statute. And the City of Pahokee's percentage increase in rolled back rate is 5.06%. Fiscal year 2018-2019 rolled back rate taxes are $537,435. You only budget 95% of that, which is $510,563. Fiscal year 2018-2019 proposed taxes are $564,604. Again, 95% of that is $56374. The fiscal year 2019 proposed tax increase is $26,739. And the fiscal year 2018-2019 rollback rate is 6.2271 mils. The fiscal year 2017-2018 millage rate was 6.519 mils. And the proposed millage rate in your budget for this year is 6.5419. There is a proposed millage decrease this year of 0%. Again, the rolled back rate millage was 6.4869. Any questions?
Okay, thank you, City Attorney. At this time, is there anyone wishing to speak on Resolution 2018-54 on the public hearing? Yes, sir.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Paul Morrison, Senior, 2587 Southwest 14th Terrace. Per household or per property individual, about how much that would be an increase on each individual?
$26,000 divided by how many houses? $2,500 houses? So that sounds like about $10 per house. Of course, each house is different, their millages are different, that's a huge
But on the
approximation.
average- On average.
Yeah.
$10 to $12.
$10, yeah.
Thank you, sir. Are there any additional comments on this ordinance? Hearing none, I will close this part of the public hearing and allow Commissioner Walker a few minutes to come up.
Good evening.
City Commissioners, having had Resolution 2018-54 properly read into the minutes, what's your pleasure?
Mr.
To
Mayor,
make
if
a
I-
motion to move. I'm sorry. 2018-54
Thank you, ma'am.
resolution, I'm sorry.
Looking for a second.
Second.
Thank you, sir.
May I have an explanation?
Okay,
What's going on, please?
yeah. We're in our final millage rates and final budget. This is the first of two Resolution 2018-54. We had a public hearing on it, and now we're into deliberation on this particular resolution. City Attorney, could you just give another brief overview of this particular resolution?
Yes, the resolution proposes a millage rate for, let's see, the 2018-19 year of 6.5419. It is a 5% increase over a rolled back rate, which produces for the city approximately $26,739 extra in your budget.
Thank you.
Okay, it's been moved by Commissioner Hill and properly seconded by Commissioner Everett for the adoption of Resolution 2018-54. Call for questions. Hearing none, are you ready for vote? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Hill,
Yes.
Commissioner Everett,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Mervin,
Yes.
Commissioner Walker,
Yes.
Mayor Bat.
Yes. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you, Commissioners. Resolution 2018-54 passes by a unanimous vote. Now we will entertain Resolution 2018-55. City Attorney, could you read this in the record?
Yes, sir. It's a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Pahokee, Florida, relating to finances, providing for the adoption and funding of a final municipal budget in the amount of $4,654,341 of the City of Pahokee, Florida for the fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2018 and ending September 30th, 2019.
Thank you, City Attorney. I will now open the public hearing on Resolution 2018-55. Are there anyone wish to speak on this particular resolution? Hearing none, I'll now close the public hearing on Resolution 2018-55. City Commissioners, having had Resolution 2018-55 properly read into the minutes, what's your pleasure?
Mr. Mayor, if I'm in order, I'd like to offer a motion that we accept resolution as it has been read in our hearing.
A second.
It has been moved by Commissioner Everett and properly seconded by Vice Mayor Mervin for the adoption of Resolution 2018-55. Call for questions.
Yes, question directed to City Manager regarding conversations we had relating to the budget in the area of cemetery and public works. I know there were some conversations that were tossed out regarding 4 vacancies or 4 open positions that we had either in public works, even exploring ideas regarding from our budget meeting regarding lawn care, that kind of thing. Where are we with that? Is that, was that taken in consideration with this final budget submission?
Partially. Some of those conversations that you're referencing have moved on to HR to address as far as personnel. Some of the things that we have identified, for example, for the cemetery, we know is sealed into that Henderson Fund until we figure out with the city attorney, with PNC Bank, and with the family how to access some of those funds. Some of those conversations will be for a later date in this fiscal year. As far as personnel, those conversations have moved on to human resources with public works.
And when you say moved on
We're identifying, those actual positions and where we can start advertising.
Okay.
Yep.
So just for further clarification, City Manager, the amount that was currently in the budget for, say, those 2 positions is currently there?
Yes.
Okay, great. Any additional questions? Hearing none, are you ready for vote? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Everett,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Mervin,
Yes.
Commissioner Hill,
Yes.
Commissioner Walker,
Yes.
Mayor Bat.
Yes. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you, Commissioners. Resolution 2018-55 passes by a unanimous vote. Okay. Are there any quick discussion or comments or concern by the City Commission? I'll start with Vice Mayor Mervin.
Not at this time, Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am. Commissioner Everett.
Not at the moment.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Walker.
Right at the moment.
Thank you, ma'am. Commissioner Hill.
No, no.
Thank you, ma'am. I will now adjourn this special meeting of Tuesday, September the 25th, 2018. And we will take a 2-minute recess and move right into our regular commission meeting. Vice Mayor Mervin.
Yes.
I call this City Commission meeting of the City of Pahokee, regular commission meeting of Tuesday, September the 25th, 2018, at 6:35 to order. May we please stand for the invocation given by Minister Jackson, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. Father God, we thank you for this day that you have made. We shall rejoice and be glad therein. As we come today to hear business of our city, we ask that you give guidance and leadership to those who sit on the dais. Thank you for our mayor, vice mayor, our commissioners, our city manager, and everyone that it takes to build our commission and our government. We give you all the praise and the glory. What's in your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mayor Bab,
Present.
Commissioner Everett,
Here.
Commissioner Hill,
Here.
Vice Mayor Mervin,
Present.
Commissioner Walker,
Present.
City Manager,
Here.
City Attorney,
Present.
Lieutenant Piccolo,
Here.
Interim City Clerk, present.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you, Commissioners. Thank you, staff, and thank each of you for being here today to participate in our regular commission meeting of Tuesday, September 25th, 2018. We'll now move right along our agenda items. First thing on the agenda is the additions, deletions, and approval of the agenda items. First of all, do we have any additions, City Manager?
Yes, good evening, Mayor, Commission, community, visitors, friends. Resolution 2018-56. This is a resolution for change orders on all of our projects. Majority of these change orders have already been mostly implemented. They were supposed to come up before the last commission meeting, so I would like to move them to the consent agenda, except for the one that was pulled out for Aruba construction. That should remain on the agenda under discussion for resolution. The rest can move to consent agenda.
And the one being pulled for consideration of discussion, what resolution is that?
It's the same resolution, Mayor.
Exhibit A,
Okay.
item 5.
Yeah.
Okay,
I think they pulled it out of the agenda, of the packet.
okay.
Okay? And that was 2018-56. And then we have a resolution 28-57. That is our annual approval of all observed holidays for the fiscal year 2018-2019 for the city of Pahokee. And there was supposed to be another addition.
Yeah,
for-
the proclamation for the Methodist
Proclamation?
Church, is it here?
Yeah, proclamation for First United Methodist Church 100th anniversary. Wasn't referring to that one, but that one as well. And then there'll probably be Mayor, upon a personal privilege for Dwight Mattingly, who wants to discuss just some changes with Palm Tran. You can either add that to the agenda, or you can make it a part of your
We'll allow him
report or my
to,
report.
We'll add it to the agenda on the presentation.
Okay, all right.
We also had some certificates for the Public Works Department, but I don't know if we actually notified staff to be present here.
Yeah, we're notified.
Okay, so if they were, we're going to continue with that.
Yes, sir. Yeah, and then one particular recognition we'll hold until next commission meeting.
Well, actually, I'm going to make a
I know you're gonna comment about it. That's
yes,
good.
yes, and we'll do a more formal one at the
Yes, sir.
next commission meeting.
Same here.
I'll include that under my report.
Same here.
The director recognition.
Okay, that's all the addition and deletions, Mayor.
And we're going to move, if it's to the pleasure of the city commission, we're going to move the United Methodist proclamation resolution up in the agenda to the beginning of the agenda items. They have to have other engagement they're taken care of. Having had all of that said, could I entertain a motion for the adoption of the agenda with the added add-ons?
I make a motion to adopt the agenda with the add-ons.
A second.
It has been moved by Vice Mayor Mervin and properly seconded by Commissioner Walker for the adoption of the agenda items with the stated add-ons. Call for questions. Hearing none, are you ready for vote? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Vice Mayor Mervin,
Yes.
Commissioner Walker,
Yes.
Commissioner Everett,
Yes.
Commissioner Hill,
Yes.
Mayor Bab.
Yes. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you, Commissioners. The agenda items are approved by unanimous vote. We're going to go ahead at this time with the proclamation for the First United Methodist Church 100 year anniversary. City Attorney, could you read that into the record for us, please?
Yes, sir. This is proclamation for First United Methodist Church 100th anniversary. Whereas in 1916, a group of local pioneers families started an interdenominational Sunday school and Bible study in the community. Classes were held in the C.C. Morris packing shed, which is near 1897 Bacon Point Road. And whereas in 1917, a retired minister by the name of Reverend Coleman went before the Methodist Conference and made a request for a more formal church. His request led to the establishment of the First Methodist Church in Pahokee. And whereas in approximately late 1918 or early 1919, a small community church was built on Bacon Point Road, which is currently the site of Pioneer Park. All denominations used the building for their services. And whereas in 1921, the Second Methodist Church was started at 462 East Main Street, which is the site of the old parsonage. The third church was started in 1935, but it was destroyed by fire in 1968. And whereas the present sanctuary was started and dedicated in 1970, the church's educational building, fellowship hall, and chapel, which was built in the 1950s, is now in use as part of the existing church plant. And whereas First United Church has continued to advance and grow over the years and will celebrate its 100th anniversary on September 30th, 2018. Now, therefore, on behalf of the City Commission and the citizens of Pahokee, and by virtue of the authority vested in the mayor, he does hereby honor the 100th anniversary of the First Methodist Church and urge all residents to pay special tribute to this church on the occasion of its 100th anniversary.
Thank you, City Attorney. City Commissioners, having had the proclamation on behalf of the First United Methodist Church 100-year anniversary properly read into the records, what's your pleasure?
Mayor, I believe you already voted on this proclamation at the last meeting.
I don't recall. Okay.
It wasn't, I think it's still appropriate.
We can make it
to-
official. I was
yeah,
just letting you know.
have it read or
Yeah.
seen. What's your pleasure, City Commissioner?
Mr. Mayor, if I'm in order, I offer a motion that we accept the proclamation as read for our consideration.
A second.
It has been moved by Commissioner Everett and properly seconded by Vice Mayor Mervin for the approval of proclamation to the United Methodist Church. Call for questions. Hearing none. Are you ready for vote? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Everett,
Yes?
Vice Mayor Mervin,
Yes.
Commissioner Hill,
Yes.
Commissioner Walker,
Yes.
Mayor Bab.
Yes. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you, Commissioners. The proclamation for the First United Methodist Church passes by unanimous vote. Would you please join me down in front of the podium so we can present this to the church at this time? In addition, we are hoping that some of our city commissioners will be attending the 100 year anniversary celebration, and we can formally submit it again to the church.
Question before we go down, is it a consent that the proclamation will formally be presented? Is it a consent that it will be formally presented at the program?
Yes, I'm not sure if we're gonna actually, to be honest, present it depending on how their program is designed or scheduled. If their time allowed it for that, we'll like for myself or someone else on our behalf to actually present it again in a more formal setting at the church program. If not, the clerk may end up reading it. We'll just be there in attendance to support this particular event. That's kind of.
Pastor's here, and it's a centennial celebration.
Will
The
there
proclamation
be
given
an
from the
opportunity for a representative from the city commission to again present this particular proclamation to the church during y'all program? And the reason I asked for the clarification, sometimes church
That's why I wanted to know.
clerks just actually read whatever proclamation they receive, but it'd be nice if we can have an official presenter to present it.
I just know it's not every day a church gets to 100 years
Absolutely.
old, and I just wanted to see,
Right.
would there be a spot for that recognition? I know I would, make room once we make 100 for that to happen.
And our vice mayor have already agreed to actually read it on our behalf if it's allowed at that time. And it seemed that it will be, so
What
we'll
time
be
is
there.
the service?
10:30.
Okay.
All right, let's go down and officially present. You gotta stay up on this one.
Forever and ever and ever, amen.
Again, good evening. On behalf of the Pahokee City Commission, to the pastor and the members of First United Methodist Church, in celebration of your 100-year anniversary, it is indeed an honor and pleasure to present you with this proclamation on behalf of Vice Mayor Clara Mervin, Commissioner Benny Everett, Commissioner Diane Walker, Commissioner Felicia Hill, Mayor, myself, Keith Babb, along with our city manager and our entire city staff, and really the entire community of Pahokee. As Commissioner Everett has indicated, it's certainly an honor and such a thrill to have served this community for 100 years. I'm gonna have at this time, and I don't know if the Vice Mayor gonna go and read it again, which I doubt, but I would like for her to say a few words, and she's actually gonna be the one that would be officially presenting this again on the September the 30th at 10:30 at your anniversary.
I just say God bless you, and looking forward to many more years. And thank you for your service in the community.
You all started in 1916. Did any damage from the hurricane of 1928 or any loss of lives from your membership that you can recall?
I'm sure that we did. I mean, but we have some survivors of it, the Salvatore sisters and the Salvatore family. But yeah, I'm sure that, just like everybody, but
Okay.
No, I met him.
Okay, we're gonna have the pastor say
Thank you.
a few words on behalf of the church. We'll take a quick photo and allow him to say a few words on behalf of the church.
Well, I want to say it's quite an honor. You know, we've had a long history together, actually from the very beginning. And over the course of these many, many years, I think about all the things like the flood or the hurricane, all the different things that we've been through, the way that this community has impacted our church, and hopefully our church has impacted this community, and the way that our histories are intertwined. And so we look forward to being a part of this community, continuing to serve this community. I can't speak for the 50 some odd pastors ahead of me, but I can speak for myself that it has been an honor to serve here and to continue to serve here, but also to live in this unique city. This is a unique place. So we look forward to just continuing to be here, and as you heard, to be a channel for God's blessing in this community as we continue to move forward. And if there's anybody that needs anything, come by and see us. We'll do what we can. Amen.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Thank you. Look, I want to say something to you all. I want to say something in the front of the audience about you all.
At the church or here? Right now? Gonna hurt? Is it gonna hurt?
No. No, man.
Hey, Mr. Mayor, if I'm in order, I do want to say I think the first United Methodist Church was a little modest in their description, because at one time they did have a school that serviced our community, and they currently host AA and NA, right? Just AA at the church, and also how the grace that you've extended to a particular community that oftentimes is judged for a lifetime, and what I'm referencing is the community out in Pelican Lake that's given individuals who made some bad decisions in their life opportunity to redeem themselves. And so I think they were a little modest, and there has been contributions that the church has made to the community here at Pahokee to improve the quality of living for our citizens.
Thank you for acknowledging that.
May I?
Commissioner Walker.
Recently had some people, resident, were their homes were affected,
Misplaced.
and they help them home, food, and so forth. So I want to thank them for the food. You can't hear me? Okay, I just want to thank the church master and their providing food to the families were affected today, this week. So I just want to let anyway, I want to thank you for your service to their families. Thank you. Sometimes I call it talk bad, and sometimes it mess it up, but so it's messing up that one.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner
Okay, thank
Walker,
you.
for that acknowledgement. Now we'll move into our next agenda item, which will be citizen comments, agenda items only. Madam Clerk, at this time, do we have any comments card from citizens?
Yes, sir. Ms. Deborah Jones, in regards to the commercial trucks.
Ms. Jones.
Good evening.
Good
Good evening.
Once again, I'm back before you concerned about the commercial trucks. I'm Deborah Jones. I attended the last meeting, hoping you all would give more consideration of the matter. I would like to know if the trucks are moved to State Market Road, if they are vandalized, who will pay for this? Meaning if the computers are stolen, diesel fuel is stolen, batteries are stolen, etc. Again, please consider all these things before making your decisions. Please. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Madam Clerk, are there any additional comments cards at this time?
No, sir, not regarding agenda items.
Thank you, ma'am. We're now moving to the public service announcement. Also, you must have a public service comment card completed. City Clerk, at this time, are there any public service announcement cards completed?
Yes, sir. Ms. Linda Adrepone, announcing her grand opening for the Dance Academy here in Pahokee.
Good evening.
Good evening.
We're finally here. Yes. We're Pahokee Dance Academy. We're getting ready to have our grand opening on October 13th. On Saturday, October 13th, which will be a day of workshops, dance workshops. The workshops will start at 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. And we're having different teachers that come in to teach ballet, jazz, hip hop, African ballroom dance, liturgical, which is praise dance, modern, and we have Zumba for the parents and community. And we also will have a modeling etiquette program for the kids. It's really important. Manners will take you where a dollar can't. And so it's important that we teach our children while they're young.
That's right.
One other thing I want to say before I stop, Pahokee Dance Academy is not just dance. Every dancer must be part of our book club. If they're not part of the book club, they cannot participate. Why is that? Because a thinking dancer goes a much longer way. We are teaching our kids, if they don't want to perform professionally, they can take these skills wherever they go, whether it's international finance, like my daughter, she was the youngest Miami Heat dancer, but she took her skills and she went on and got her master's in international finance. This is also for boys as well and fathers. I promise you we're not gonna have them in tutu or tights, okay? But it's wonderful when our ballroom dancers have partners, and it's just a great thing. So again, it's Saturday, October 13th. We're at 594 East Main Street, and day full of dance workshops. This will be free to the community. So we just want you to come out, and I actually have invitations for all of you, okay? And we have some flyers. If I please can get permission, just sit them on the table out front.
Yes.
Okay, great. So may I give you these now?
Sure.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Question.
Yes.
Do you have private lessons for those of us who may be challenged in the area of rhythm?
I'm glad you asked that question.
I'm not gonna Zumba.
Okay.
And I'm not gonna wear tutu.
Okay. But I'm happy you asked that question, because I've had so many people to come and ask, will be willing to rent out our facility for private parties, etc. And I just wanted to be on the record, okay, this is for our children. Strictly for our children. It's not for clubs, it's not for outside parties. This is a safe haven for our kids to come to. That's why we're doing this.
But I'm saying private lessons.
Not private, not right now.
Oh,
okay. Weddings, yes, we do for the ballroom, for the private dance. With, you know, I teach that as well.
Okay,
Yes,
now you get the point.
yes,
Okay.
now I'm getting the point,
Yeah.
yes. So we can teach that for you, okay?
And thank you for bringing some culture in our community.
Yes, yes.
Thank
Very
you so
good.
much.
You're so welcome.
Ms. Angie Vaughn, I want to
Yes.
thank you for bringing your business to the city of Pahokee. I know it was a long process with permitting, and we're glad that that space is filled in the Save-A-Lot area. We were hoping that somebody would take that space and occupy it, and it's one of those things where your services are needed here in the city of Pahokee, and so I'm glad that you went through that permitting process. I know it was long for you, but we're glad that you're here, and the city certainly will support you in any endeavors that you have, and we'd like to try to continue advertising for that. We need to get that out on the Glaze initiative to announce, services for kids, not just here in Pahokee, but Belgrade and surrounding areas, because I know you want your classes full of kids, students, and even adults as well. So I'm just glad to hear that, and maybe one day when we get that gymnasium back open, those Zumba classes can become early morning Zumba classes for adults for exercise. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for having me,
Please,
everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's located in between Save-A-Lot and
Family
Family
Dollar.
Dollar.
Yes.
That space in between family, and it's wonderful. I just want to just say, and I promise you I'll sit down. I know I'm long-winded. The kids tell me that all the time. The kids from Pahokee performed in our big production. We have a yearly production, and this was at the Duncan Theater. And they performed a piece from the blues, Bobby Blue Bland's, okay, something my gone or something, And let me tell you, it was a showstopper. It was a showstopper. There was someone there that came from ELC, Early Learning Coalition, and they came because they wanted to witness this. They didn't feel that Pahokee was ready for this program, and they were dumbfounded. It was let me tell you, Pahokee got a standing ovation at this show. So starting in January or before, ELC is willing to come on board. So for those kids that cannot pay, the ELC will step in. And I just think it's just an amazing thing. There's so much talent here. You just have to support it.
That's it.
Right.
Tap in.
That's
Very
right.
good.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Again, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, do we have any additional public service announcements?
No, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Now we'll move to the approval of the minutes of September 11, 2018, a special meeting of the City Commission. What's your pleasure, City Commission?
Mr. Mayor, if I'm in order, I would like to offer a motion that we approve minutes from September 11th, 2018.
Second.
It has been moved by Commissioner Everett and properly second by Vice Mayor Mervin for the approval of the September 11, 2018 special meeting of the City Commission. Call for questions. Hearing none, are you ready for vote? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Everett,
Yes?
Vice Mayor Mervin,
Yes.
Commissioner Hill,
Yes.
Commissioner Walker,
Yes.
Mayor Bab.
Yes. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you, Commissioners. The September 11, 2018 special meeting agenda, meeting minutes has been approved by unanimous vote. Sorry. Now we'll have, moving to our consent agenda items. One is the proclamation, and I'm not sure why that's on the consent. Did the proclamation is ready?
I think it's because we discussed it at the last meeting, and she just put it on the consent agenda. So
Okay.
we're
going to move
bypass
that and
yeah.
officially, I also,
Close that.
I kind of felt in that I wanted to make sure I invited some of the Purple Heart recipients in Pahokee at this particular meeting. I think we failed to do that, but anyway, we're going to officially kind of put this in the minutes again. I think it's a special tribute, so we want to do that. Let's take care of the consent agenda items, and we'll move on. just for clarification, and I think they need to be read, at least noted. We're not gonna discuss them. Again, they've been previously talked about, except for one, but just list the names, list the items, and we'll vote on that to move that forward.
Thank you. Mayor, Commission, the consent agenda for the change orders for construction projects that are currently going on. These change orders tend to happen when a contractor comes back and there's a change in work and there's an increase in cost. What you have in front of you is just the resolution for those change orders. They were held back from the last commission meeting, so the majority of them are either taking place or about to be implemented at these projects. And so I felt that, you know, moving forward, because these change orders have already occurred, that we can put it on a consent agenda. If you have any additional discussions about it, I'm welcome to explain what each one is, but I don't think we need that tonight.
Okay. Well, without going into an explanation, could you basically kind of read them out?
Sure,
so we'll
sure.
know what we're
Sure.
consenting to approve?
You have A Genesis, which has 4 change orders, and they read as one as a seal coat change to the entire parking lot of the marina. Of course, you already see that because it's already been completed. There was a change order in the sidewalk on the public side from 5 feet to 8 feet. We also added 3 lookout benches, meaning when they finish that project, there'll also be 3 benches strategically designed and placed along the outlook of the shoreline where you can sit and look over into the lake. That was a change. Removal of some additional old trees that have been struck by lightning, and interior demolition of the old restroom at the very end. We're going to be converting that to something that I need to hold off on until phase 2, but they did the interior demolition to that building. Then you have another change order for security. We have ongoing security at Marina. They're a subcontractor under Genesis, so they have to be paid monthly. There's 2 change orders for security for A Genesis. You have Aruba. Yes, I covered that. You have Aruba construction, additional painting of the restaurant and seawall side of the restaurant and conference room. That was an addition of about $4,000. $4,400. Petroleum Marine Construction. This is the company that has been repairing your gas tanks for the boats. As you know, that the petroleum gas pumps have been inoperable, and they needed an additional change of $3,300 to clean out the interior of the pumps for the delivery of the gas. And once the delivery of gas arrives, they'll do another test, and then they'll add all the electronics and and all of the connections to our system for purchasing. Next paving, this is Commissioner's Park, which is looking wonderful. They got another at least 3.5-4 weeks of construction. They made some significant changes to the splash pad. They will be digging up most of the splash pad because they think they understand where the leak is coming from. The internal system underground is it needs to be replaced at this point. And so they need to dig out the majority of the splash pad and replace all of those pipes and drainage up under the splash pad. That includes removing all of the concrete in a large section of the splash pad and replacing that concrete once they replace all the pipes underneath, with all of the equipment that requires to drain and push water into the outlets of the splash pad items that are located on top of the splash pad. In addition to that, they got to saw cut all the concrete, regrade the base, pour additional concrete to level it up to level the foundation, external foundation around the splash pad, and they got to add new sod. So you have 2 change orders for Lynch paving. Weekly asphalt, our Glaze Citizens Villa project, very lengthy change order. That change order comes about because there is a lot of work that has to be done with Glaze Citizens Villa, with stormwater and repairing of the streets. Majority of this went into all of the conduits that are behind the homes. After they remove all the chain link fencing, they got to replace the chain link fencing that they removed, including the shelters, and install several additional pipes and fittings that will drain the water from behind the communities. So this is a very lengthy change order, and it actually is $162,000. The great thing about that, their bid was well below the $635,000, but with the $160,000 change order, that takes them right up to, I think, $634,000, if I'm not correct. And so they have no more room for a change order. They realized that, but this was a very extensive change order, so they wanted to make sure that they had everything covered before they submitted this change order. And that's it for the consent agenda, change orders.
Thank you, City Manager. I thought it was just very important that we read those change orders out loud and let the audience know what was being changed, and to allow us to discuss it if we needed to.
Quick
Commissioner
question.
Everett.
Quick question, Mr. Williamson, with the significant increase with the change order regarding Glaze Citizen Villa, was the clearing of the right-of-ways one of the issues why there was a change order?
Yes.
With regards to that particular project?
Yes.
Which has been the reason why that project possibly was met, also factoring in Mother Nature.
Yeah, they had to go back and mobilize in a different way because they didn't anticipate. Well, they knew some of the fence lines would be in the right of way, but they didn't anticipate sheds, etc. And so they had to go back and redo their scope of work because they realized once they remove those fence lines, they know they're going to put them back brand new as well. So that majority of the folks are getting new fence lines at the end of this project. So that's great, along with sheds as well.
So sheds would be
Yes.
replaced?
If they have to move them out, and if they're, if they can move a shed without damaging the foundation and which is kind of impossible, I think, to move a shed without really tearing it down, they have to put it back the way they found it. Yes.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Now, I can talk about this last one.
No, we're going to actually talk about that. That's not on the consent, so we'll discuss that briefly.
All
right. City Commissioners having had all the change orders outlined that's being moved to the consent agenda items. What's your pleasure?
Mr. Mayor, if I'm in order, I'd like to offer a motion that we accept the consent agenda items that have been read in our hearing and explained for our consideration on this evening.
I second.
It has been moved by Commissioner Everett and properly seconded by Vice Mayor Mervin that we approve the consent agenda items that has been outlined by the city manager. Call for questions. Hearing none, are you ready for vote? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Everett?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Mervin?
Yes.
Commissioner Hill?
Yes.
Commissioner Walker?
Yes.
Mayor Bab?
Yes. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you, Commissioners. The consent agenda item passes. Now we have one item that was pulled from the consent for discussion and explanation. City Manager Chandler.
Thank you, Mayor, Commission. This particular change order is under Aruba construction. As you know, when we award contracts, sometimes, majority of the time, they do subcontract out to smaller entities to actually do the work, and that's typically what you find with general contractors. They find other subcontractors do specify the work for them that they can't do, and then they pay them based on what we pay them. And so, but when a subcontractor comes in and they add, or when a contractor comes in and they add a subcontractor and it's outside of the scope of work already agreed to, that's why you get a change order. And this particular company, Aruba Construction, added a change order from Cruz America Associates. And what their job was is Cruz America hired some of their labor skilled staff to come in and do some electrical work at the campground, the docks, and marina, and the restaurant. And so Cruise America, billed Aruba, and of course Aruba paid them, and that was a change order. But the reason why I wanted to discuss that, because I want to be very transparent, that Aruba subcontractor Cruise America is also one of your Everglades Reserve holding investors that is making some renovations at the marina, but at the same time, those renovations are being reimbursed. They're not being done with free of charge. They're actually billing the general contractor. The general contractor is actually paying them as a subcontractor. And so I just want to make sure we're transparent and above board when we have these types of discussions about change orders, and to ensure you that everything is above board and it's clear to the community who does work in the on the marina, who's being paid, and how our subcontractors work with our general contractors. And so I just want to put that on the record that Cruise America, Mr. Lambert's company, is and has done some work up there. They have been reimbursed or continue to be reimbursed if there's an additional invoice coming under Aruba. Subsequently, Aruba will be closing out all of their invoices this week, and so we don't expect any additional invoices from their self-contractor. But it has occurred that they've been billing Aruba for some of the work that they've done, and they have been paid for that work. And we need to ensure that that is clear. Sometimes those conversations get a little muddy or confused about what is being done in the city of Pahokee, and I want to ensure that when we have volunteers that come in, we appreciate that, and those who come in and do work and won't reimburse, they are reimbursed for their commitment to the city of Pahokee, specifically with this project here. And this is what these documents represent.
Thank you, City Manager. City Commissioners haven't had this particular change order properly explained. What's your pleasure? In addition, question can come under question once we get a
Mr.
motion.
Mayor, if I'm in order, I would offer a motion that we accept this particular change order that city manager just explained with regards to Aruba Construction subcontracting from general contract for our consideration tonight.
Thank you, sir.
Second.
Thank you, ma'am. It has been moved by Commissioner Everett and properly seconded by Vice Mayor Mervin that we approve this change order. Call for questions.
Yes, sir. Just to be clear, Mr. Williamson, what you're basically what you're clearing up is that there has not been any volunteer free work, but all work has been compensated.
Work that they've done and sent an invoice to Aruba has been reimbursed.
Okay, thank you.
To this particular entity, Cruise America. Yes, sir.
So we didn't get any donations with regards to the work done?
Not in regards to repairs and renovations.
Okay.
No, sir.
In addition to questions. Commissioner Hill.
No questions, I'll bring it up next program.
Thank you, ma'am. In addition to questions. Hearing none, are you ready for vote? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Everett,
Yes?
Vice Mayor Mervin,
Yes.
Commissioner Hill,
Yes.
Commissioner Walker,
Yes.
Mayor Bell.
Yes. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you, Commissioners. Change order passes by unanimous vote. At this time, Commissioners, just for a point of order, we do have a guest presenter tonight, and I failed to ask earlier, would you allow me to move that up in the agenda item? I know he's out of West Palm Beach, so just out of consideration for his time and effort to come into the Glades to explain this particular area dealing with our palm train routes to us, if you would allow me at this time, allow the commission at this time to move him up to now so he can make his presentation.
Can we do the rest of it too, so?
The other one, just all presentation, want to move up? Okay, that will work.
You want to do that now, Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. We'll come back to the last resolution. Go ahead.
You asked a motion?
Yes, let's do a quick motion for the order of our agenda.
So moved, Mayor.
Thank you. Been moved by Vice Mayor Mervin and properly second by Commissioner Walker that we move up our presentation in our agenda. Call for questions. Hearing none. Are you ready for vote? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Vice Mayor Mervin,
Yes.
Commissioner Walker,
Yes.
Commissioner Everett,
Yes.
Commissioner Hill,
Yes.
Mayor Bab.
Yes. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you, Commissioners. The agenda item presentation has been moved up. And now we're moving to our first presentation. The first presentation is by Dwight Mattingly. He's actually representing Coke Train's workers and Palm Train workers, and want to explain and share with you how these changes, Palm Train route performance maximization will affect you. And at this time, we'll have Mr. White and his representative come up.
Thank you very much, Mayor Babs and Commissioners. Thank you for allowing us to be here, and City Administrator Williamson. And to the audience, thank you for being here tonight. One of the things that we wanted to do very quickly is bring to your attention that Palm Tran is in the process of doing some major route changes that's going to affect all the Glades communities. And as those of you that live in the community and ride the buses know, there are basically 3 routes that service this area. One back and forth between West Palm Beach and the Glades, it's the Route 40. And then there's 2 routes that go between here and South Bay, and that is the Route 47 and 48. Palm Tran has made the decision to do away with the Route 48 and combine part of that route with Route 47. So the Route 48 that runs on 715 will no longer run 715 between Pahokee and West Tech any longer. Additionally, in November or in October, there is a Glades Express bus that runs in the city of Belle Glade, and that bus is going to be eliminated. That's an outside contractor that the state of Florida has paid for with a grant over the past several years. So Palm Tran has decided to enhance somewhat the service by putting a route in Pahokee, 2 routes in Belle Glade, and a route in South Bay that will be like a circulator route. They're calling that Flex. And the Flex routes will essentially run in a certain area with the ability to deviate from that route once someone calls ahead into a call center and requests that the bus come to their residence or their business that's not on that route within 3/4 of a mile of where the established route is. Our concern is for the jobs that these routes will bring to the community. And so Palm Tran has put out an RFP that I have with me tonight that's 133 pages that I'm not going to go through, but it's a request for proposal for a contractor to bid those routes. And what is concerning to us on page 23 of that document is that Palm Beach County Living Wage Ordinance does not apply to that contract. Palm Beach County Commissioners about 2011 introduced a living wage ordinance in the county. And what that does, it raises the floor of the wages for people who contract to the county under certain conditions to have to be paid a higher wage than the minimum wage. So all the connection buses that you see in the area that take people who are unable to ride the fixed route large buses, all of those drivers were under that living wage ordinance, and when those contractors bid that work, they had to bid it with that in mind. So this contract is eliminating that, and essentially what that's saying to us is that they are forcing the employees that work for these companies to make minimum wage. We think that's a disservice to you, to your community and to the economic output that those jobs will have. We're looking at between 16 and 20 new employees that should be working for at least the living wage that the county has set, which is $12 plus an hour. But what we really believe is that since this work is being done by Tran, that it should be done by Tran employees. Tran employees get benefits from the county. They get a better wage than the living wage that the county has set, and they also get a pension when they retire. And we believe that is the type of jobs that you want brought to your community. So what we're asking for your support is to call the mayor of the county commissioner, Melissa McKinley, who also represents this area, and voice your concern, and also Virginia Baker, the county administrator, and voice your concern. I've given out a flyer for you. I have about 75 more with me. I'll be happy to leave them in the back. You can take them and pass them out to members of your congregation or members of your community and help us with this. And I'll be happy to entertain any questions. I don't represent Tran, although I work there. I represent the Amalgamated Transit Union, and we'll be happy to work with you in any way. And I want to thank the mayor again for allowing us to give the presentation.
I have a question.
Okay.
Is this almost saying that they're now outsourcing these contracts?
Just
that
this
just-
particular contract they're
Okay,
outsourcing.
okay, I figured that. So where did this come from? Who brought this up?
I think Tran's executive director and his staff decided that this would be a way to save money.
Okay, I figured that as well.
And however, the overhead costs, the cost of running the program, the vehicles, the gasoline, the fuel, the upkeep of the vehicles, all that is the same cost whoever does it.
Okay.
The only cost that's going to be saved is on the backs of the workers, and that's why it's a concern.
Right, but I think also that it does now, it takes almost like the quality of the safe piece out of it. Not saying that the ones that are bidding the contracts or that are receiving the contracts or the outsourcing won't do the job, but if they're paying these people minimum wage, I think it just opens up floodgates to a lot of problems and issues. Now, could you go back to the flex route that you were telling me, that you were mentioning to the commission? And when you say that someone would have to call in from a particular area, and what they would do is that flex route then comes back around. Could you explain that a little more?
So the flex route, as they are telling us,
Okay.
will run in a certain route just like the 47 does now,
Mhm.
except it will be only in Pahokee.
Wow.
And whatever route that runs, within 3/4 of a mile of that, they will deviate from, and it will be about an hour to go the entire circle, but it won't really take an hour. It's going to allow for them to come to your house and actually pick you up.
That's only if they make that phone call. So
If you make that phone call.
So if someone is not within that hour, I don't know who did this. Wow. This is very interesting, and it's not good.
So that's why I wanted to bring it to you, so the community could have a discussion about it.
Right.
And
Okay.
be happy that.
Okay.
Mr.
Hold on.
Mr. I have a question. Is Tran making route changes on the coast?
Yes. They're making the largest redistribution of the routes that they have done in 20 years.
Okay. So, in a rural community where transportation is already challenged for seniors, I'm specifically concerned about people who want to leave this community and go to West Tech for training. And I'm more concerned that they've come up with a plan that says if someone calls, the bus will come into the community and pick them up at their home.
Yes.
Which I've seen the shorter buses do that to a degree, I think. Are you talking to those size buses?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes.
all right. Because I'm getting back to that discussion we're gonna have later on about trucks in the community and sidewalks and streets and et cetera, because now you're bringing in another vehicle
Yes.
onto residential streets that will contribute to an infrastructure that's already challenged and already in disrepair, and we are struggling to get state dollars, local dollars to fix streets. And you're saying they made a decision to bring more vehicles onto residential streets. Needed, but I don't think that was well thought out, because when you look at long-term infrastructure development, you know, we're already challenged with particular vehicles being on our community streets, and now you're bringing buses onto the community streets if needed.
So it's my understanding that the vehicles will be similar to the connection vehicles that they currently run.
Yeah, I'm looking at the usage of the highway of the road itself and how quickly it will degrade based on what we have out here now, which is not much in the foundation of our infrastructure as it pertains to streets. So that's, you know, that's a concern that we have to move from this dais on to the county with some of these questions that we have. So we appreciate you bringing this to our attention, because there's certainly a lot to think about, and I don't feel comfortable about taking a main thoroughfare away from the city of Pahokee that goes to West Tech when we poured in about $2.5 million into that facility so people can go to West Tech. And now you're saying they're taking that ability away and putting in a flex route.
And
That kind of
sometimes,
contradicts why we got the $2.4 million to get the place
Right.
up and running again
And Mr.
from the
Mayor,
legislature.
through you, if I could comment just real quickly, they will still be going to West Tech, but they will go by State Road 80, is it? That is the 47 route that goes to HRS and then over
Yeah.
to West Tech. So
Yeah,
it'll be
so
a
you're
long-
talking an hour timeline that I gotta add to my day of
Yes.
getting ready to go to West Tech to
Correct.
get training.
Correct. I just wanted to clear it because they'll come back and say that they will.
Yeah, no, I understand.
sometimes
Yeah.
I wonder if this is, and I don't know if I should say this, sometimes I wonder if this is part of the plans, the future plans for the Bright Line or the train that's, see you smiling, I knew it. That train that's coming out this way.
Yeah.
I wonder if that is part of the plans, or this is almost like a pre-notion or something that's going on with the decisions that are being made in reference to this, because I just can't see how is it they just change these type of plans, because even with that flex route, that's kind of difficult. That's if that person has to call within that hour. But nevertheless, there's a lot of questions that need to be asked, and I think it's a lot of discussions that need to be made on this topic. And thank you for
Thank you.
bringing that information.
All right.
Do you have a card on this, sir?
I do.
Because I do have some follow-up questions.
Okay.
I want to understand that dynamic of that whole 3/4 of a mile. I think some interesting perspectives have been brought up with regards to concerns with our senior population. And it's just rather inconvenient. And also, we'll talk even about the compensation with regards to you know, Palm Tran is going to be, you're saying Palm Tran, it's going to be out for bid.
Yes.
Your desire is to see that Palm Tran actually facilitate this whole flex route. Did I hear you correctly?
Mr. Mayor, if I could, through
Yes,
you,
go ahead.
there is, as you know, Palm Tran has a facility built on Wheeler Way. That facility will be able to house these buses. It has a 2-bay garage. That facility could maintain the buses. It has a fueling station. All the infrastructure is already there. Whoever bids this is going to have to bid and rent or buy a facility to do that for 1 year, with the possibility, because it's a pilot program, of a second and third year. But all their costs are going to be up front. And the only way this can save Palm Tran money to bid it out is against the workers' pay.
Yeah.
And so that's why we have that concern. We just think it's an injustice to your community for them to do that to the workers. And by the way, 90% of the workers that work for Tran in the Glades area live here and are part of your community.
Exactly.
So I'm sure these 16 or so will also be doing the same. And I just think they should be able to have a good job.
Exactly.
And that's what this is about.
I have one more question. I want clarity. Pahokee is the only one that's getting the flex route.
No, there's 2 in Belglade and 1 in South Bay, so there's going to be 4 total out here.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Again, thank you, sir. And it's really important that we make those calls to our county mayor and our county commissioners, and as well as the county administrator. I know a lot of time we get this information and we sit back sometime and say someone else is going to make the call on our behalf. But if all of us jointly make those calls, things will happen. And I believe that Blaze Initiative is hosting another meeting in reference to this. So I'm not sure exactly the date and time of that meeting, but we need to participate in those community meetings when it's having some concern of our community. Thank you again. Now we'll move back to the resolution, Resolution 2018-57, in reference to our annual.
Mayor, I thought we were gonna do the other presentation.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm just skipping now. We had a couple more presentations, wanted to make sure we got out and got done. And Vice Mayor, if you could help me, who are the other?
You have the businesses of the month. You have,
I thought that was later. We're doing that now?
She's saying she's gonna move all the presentation. I see what you're saying. Okay, okay. All right, we'll move into all our presentations. Next is the business of the month. Each month, a city commissioner select 2 businesses that they could recognize and encourage our residents to support. This month, the selecting commissioner was Commissioner Everett, if I'm not mistaken. Vice Mayor Mervin. So at this time, I'll have Commissioner Vice Mayor Mervin introduce and present the 2 businesses that she selected this month.
the 2 businesses that I chose, one was they're not here tonight, was Florida Community Health Center. That, you know, that's a medical center that's been in the community for a couple of years. They see adults and peds, but they're not here tonight. But we'll see if they get their certificate. Also, we do have the other business of the month, Breath of Life Pregnancy Resource Center. And we have the owner of that business here. She can come forward.
Okay, we'll come down and we'll do a formal presentation of this business.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Again, good evening. On behalf of the Pahokee City Commission, Commissioner Everett, Vice Mayor Clara Mervin, Commissioner Diane Walker, Commissioner Felicia Hill, myself as mayor, and our city manager Chandler Williamson, it is indeed a pleasure and honor to present you with the business of the month, Breath of Life Pregnancy Resource Center Corporation. We always encourage our residents to support all of our local businesses. Some of these businesses are for profit, some are non-profit, but they still need our support and participation to survive. And at this time, I would like to hand this over to have our Vice Mayor formally present the business of the month.
The business of the month is presented to the Breath of Life Pregnancy Resource Center Corp., 296 East Main Street, Pahokee, Florida, 33476. in recognition of outstanding service to the community, presented this 25th day of September 2018. Mayor Keith Babb, Vice Mayor Clara Mervin, Commissioner Benny L. Everett III, Commissioner Felicia Hill, Commissioner Diane Walker, and Chandler Williamson, City Manager. Mayor, this business been in business now not even a year quite yet, about a couple months, but she came in, Mayor, and I know for a fact that she's she was helping pregnancy, the ones without funds, so far in, but we'll let her tell the story of why she was chosen as one of the businesses of the month.
Hello, good evening. So I just wanted to run over a few things. So we help out anybody. We help out with whether you're pregnant, you have children, or we've even helped up to senior citizens. I just want to run over a few numbers with you guys. We've given out since mid-June when we opened over 1,000 items and clothing for all ages, over 250 diapers, close to 50 cans of formula, and over 150 hygiene items just to help out. And then I had a quick couple of things that clients have stated that have come in. One woman we just recently helped, she had all 3 of her children's complete school uniforms stolen from the laundromat, and we were able to give them all school uniforms for school. And another is a mom who is currently in rehab, but she's currently expecting her 4th child, so that we're really happy that she was able to come and find a place, and she's on the road to recovery. And then another one was a grandmother who just recently took on raising her 3 grandchildren, even though she still has a child at home, and she's able to come in. Because there's things like WIC and stuff out there, but if you're a mom, you know that it doesn't always cover the whole month. So it's nice that we have where they can come in and receive help.
Thank you. And could you announce
Oh, yes, I'm sorry, thank you. We're located at 296 East Main Street, and we're there Tuesday through Saturday. It's right on the main road. It doesn't sit on the main road, it's a little bit back, but I've put some colorful things there so people can notice it. And there's no questions asked. You just come in and receive help. We don't require anything, and that's it. You just come in and we help you with whatever we have. Whatever we're donated, we give out. We take donations too, but we give out whatever we have. We even give canned foods. Whatever people bring to us, we give out to those that need it. So.
Again, thank you and congratulations on being the business of the month.
Yes.
Okay. Our last presentation, we're going to do the certificate of appreciation to the Public Works Department. We did invite them. I don't think many have came, but some may be here. I'm going to have the clerk at least acknowledge them by reading out the names on each of the certificates. And if any public work employees here, we'll ask you to come up and receive your certificate. And we'll have, again, I'm sorry, but it's a good exercise, have the city commission come down so we can formally shake your hand and congratulate you on a job well done. If you can recall at a last commission meeting, the city manager kind of pointed out some of the criticism that was aimed at our public work department, and he expressed his full support for this particular department, as well as our commission has. So what we're really doing is sending a signal to anyone in the public to let you know that we fully support our public works department. We think you're doing an excellent job. We know you wake up early. You work in the sun all day. It's a hard, difficult work. We're basically short-staffed. We need to have a little more staff than we have, but we do appreciate you and your effort, and we want to acknowledge that to this afternoon. If the commission would join me down at the podium, and we would present these 3 certificates that we do have.
So the rest of them just not here tonight?
They're not here. I'm gonna also have the clerk just acknowledge your name by reading them out, so we'll be aware of who worked in the public works department. Again, guys, under the direction of Alvin Johnson, your public work director, and yourself as staff, man, we really appreciate the effort you all do. I know sometimes it's not expressed, but it is noticed. This is a large community. We have people that, you know, sometimes litter. You have a lot of yards and grass you cut and mow. You do a lot. I mean, you take care of our facilities. So we want to let you know that it's not going on unnoticed, and you do get criticism as well as elected officials get criticism, and public works is just part of the job. But that don't mean that we don't support you, and we support you and want to let the community know that we fully support you. So at this time, I'm gonna have each of the commission read out the individual certificate, hand you the certificate. We're going to shake your hand and congratulate you again on a job well deserved and well earned.
Certificate of appreciation. This certificate is awarded to, and please forgive me, Kirkwood Eccleston. Thank you. In recognition of your hard work and dedication to the city of Pahokee. Presented this 25th day of September 2018, Mayor Keith W. Babb Jr., Vice Mayor Clara M. Mervin, Commissioner Felicia C. Hill, Commissioner Benny L. Everett III, Commissioner Diane L. Walker, and our city manager, Chandler F. Williamson.
All the certificates, they read the same, but I would like to say, I know when this summer first came in, and the temperature was almost like 100 degrees out there, and they were having these wet towels over their head with the hats. I know I always go by and buy Gatorade for all of them. So, because I know it was very hot out there, so I'd say I appreciate the work that they do. You know, like the mayor says, it's a big city, and sometimes they have to be personal landscapers to go take care of other people's property that don't take care of their own. So I would like to say thank you for the work that you do, and continue doing a good job. Mine is to Demetrius Carroll.
Well, I am very, very happy to be able to present to Alvin, to Mr. Johnson. He's been with the city so long. He's always been a very, very, very strong person in this department. I don't know if he's always been in this department, but I just know Alvin has always been a very important person in this community when it comes down to keeping it clean. You can just go to him and ask him almost anything. He knows the other departments as well. So he's just been with the city of Pahokee for so long. I just want to congratulate him for you know, sticking in with all the ins and outs, all the negatives, all the even with the positives, but with the negatives, he just knows how to handle himself. He just knows exactly how to handle it. And that's all I can say. I can say thank you, and we appreciate all the hard work that you do. And you guys know how I am. I'm supporting you. I'm ride or die. And the rest of the commissioners are the same way, but I just have a thing about people that are working every day, and you know, you have a job and your welfare, and you know exactly what you have to do. Thank you and congratulations. All right.
And I would like to say this a part of my mayor's report, but I'm gonna go ahead and do it now. We're gonna actually do a formal presentation to Alvin Johnson at our next commission meeting. He'll be receiving a plaque of appreciation. Alvin have worked with the city for 25 years. 30 years, I'm sorry, 30 years. On September the 15th was his 30-year anniversary. And also, his birthday was on the 15th, 50 years old. So we have a double celebration. But again, just want to iterate, Alvin come to particularly every commission meeting. He could be doing something somewhere else, resting, enjoying himself, but he come out here and participate, and he's just here. And you can always depend on him and always call on him. So just want to give him special recognition. Working with that many young men is not an easy task. And on behalf of the Public Works Department, Mr. Johnson, if you want to say a few words at this time, you can.
No, well, I'd like to thank everybody. Like he said, I've been here 30 years, and I wish I could be here 30 more. I'm one that I love my city, no matter what. I don't plan on going nowhere else. I just want to work for my city, make sure my city clean. I want to thank Mr. Williamson for coming here because I'm going to be real. I got a city manager that came here and changed my city, made my city look good. I like how my city looking now, and it's going to look better. So keep doing what you're doing, Mr. Williamson, and I'm going to keep doing what I got to do to keep it that way.
Thank you.
All right.
All right. Again, congratulations, guys.
Mayor, the Public Works employees that were not here tonight, Paul Buxton, Joe Banfield, Jermaine Bennett, Dermot Brown, Angie Burrows, Cheryl Carter, Irvin Croney, Tracy Cunningham, Jacques Smith, got that right, Darrell Taylor, and Robert Williams. Probably they're not here because they wake up at 5 a.m. and every day, and they're particularly out on the streets before 6, mostly. And that's why, on the majority of the time, you don't see too much trash and paper in the city of Pahokee because by the time you wake up, it's already been picked up. And so it's probably why they're not here tonight. They have an early rise every single morning. And I just want to commend Alvin Johnson. He's been here 30 years. When I arrived in 2015, well, he know what happened. You know, there was an expectation of this department, and it started with him. And once he understood that philosophy of how cohesively we need to work together to improve this city, his management skills actually they significantly increase to a point now where there's not too much me and him meet about. I can call him on a Sunday and he'll get up and go do something. So that's commitment. But he's been here for 30 years. The staff that worked under him, they work tirelessly, and you know, they don't get enough credit. They certainly get a lot of criticism every now and then, and I'm gonna talk about that later. But for this department particularly, I don't have the opportunity to see them face to face every day like I do my administrative staff in City Hall. I have to physically get out and ride and go talk to them, and I try to do that as much as possible and be visible with them. I know I don't do it like I should, but they are very, they work hard. All staff in public works, work very, very, very hard, and they need to be recognized on a constant basis, because I realize that repetitiveness of thank you goes a long way sometimes in our lives here in the city of Pahokee, especially when there's a lot of criticism coming our way at the same time. So thank you very much, Public Works, for your hard work. Thank
Let's
you.
give them another round of applause. Public Works Department. Thank you. Okay, we're gonna move right along in our agenda. Next item is the resolution, right?
Resolution for holidays for 2018-2019.
Yes. Resolution 2018-57, City Attorney.
This is a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Pahokee, Florida, approving the observed holidays for fiscal year 2018-2019 that are laid out on the attachment to the resolution.
Thank you, City Attorney. City Commissioners, having had Resolution 2018-57 properly read into the minutes, what's your pleasure?
So moved, Mayor. Or you want me to read it? I motion to accept the ordinance 2018-04 for a second reading.
No, it's 218-57.
Where am I now?
2018-57.
2018-57, I'm sorry. The 2018-57, I'm sorry.
Looking for a second.
Second.
Call for questions. Question, just for the record, could you read into the record the holidays listed?
Sure. Our fiscal year starts October 1st, and that's when our new holiday fiscal year starts as well. First holiday for the 2018 fiscal year, 2018-2019 fiscal year is Columbus Day, October 8th. The next holiday is Veterans Day, November 12th. That's a Monday. Veterans Day is on a Sunday. Thanksgiving, 21st through the 23rd. Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, and the day after, which is the 26th. New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. January 1st, no, December 31st, and then January 1st. Martin Luther King Jr. Day is January 21st, 2019. President's Day, February 18th, 2019. Memorial Day, May 27th, 2019. Independence Day, July 4th and 5th. That's Thursday and Friday. That's a floating day that we're adding. And Labor Day, September 2nd, 2019.
What are you on,
Voting day.
Floating.
Floating
Day. You get to vote add two floating holidays.
Okay. And that would be total how many paid holidays we have with the two floating holidays?
The actual day or a total of days?
Total of days.
Oh.
Should be 11, I think.
Well, yeah.
Okay. Just wanted
Actual
for
holidays, but the
record.
days are more than that, because there are more, it's like 2 days for some of the holidays, so it's 11 holidays, but it's more days.
16.
16?
Right. That's correct. 11 holidays, but the total, actual 11 holidays, but actual days in those holidays, total 16.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Go ahead on, Commissioner.
You good. Go ahead.
Okay. I'm just, some way we got away from this, Commissioner approval, and I'm glad we back on track in doing this, because on an annual basis, we used to do this, make sure we approve the holidays. My only question is, the 16 days, and I'm not sure we want to take up time to discuss it at this point, but it's just, I thought we had 11 holidays with 2 floating holidays, which gave us 13 holidays, paid holidays. It almost mirrored Palm Beach County as far as the number of days, but 16, I'm not sure how many cities having 16 paid holidays a year. I just question that
Well,
amount.
Mayor, it's based on your ordinances. Your ordinance allowed you to approve 2 floating holidays, so you add those days. All of these other holidays, they mirror the county identical. And I double checked that before I put this on the agenda. So the actual holidays, the day itself is the exact same days for the county. But your ordinances allow you to approve 2 additional holidays. The city manager gets 1 discretional day, and I added New Year's Eve. So that's where those 3 days come from.
What is the specific concern regarding the
The,
holiday?
the specific concern is to make sure we approve on an annual basis our holiday schedule, which we're doing now. But my concern is the number of holidays we actually receive far exceed other municipality holidays. The city manager is saying it's basically mirror the county, but I've worked with the county for 38 years, and I'm questioning
It
that.
mirrors the county, except your ordinance allows for you to approve additional floating holidays, which is.
The county also does that. We have
Right.
2 additional holidays, which we
Right.
call floating holidays. So we have that. I'm telling you, in my recollection, that exceeds what the county does. I think at the last time when I had some concern, I gave out a county schedule. I'm not saying we have to mirror the county, but I question the amount of holidays we had. It's not consistent with others cities' holidays. I think we receive more than any other cities, I'll put it that way.
Well, I guess I'm a bad source of reference, because I'm a former employee of the school district, so we took off for baloney days.
Yeah, that's why I say cities, municipalities, cause the school board, they work hard and they offer a lot, so you can't really compare them
Well,
to.
the city work hard too. I guess, and the reason why I'm asking the concern, because I've known governmental entities that take off, for Columbus Day, Veterans Day, Thanksgiving. I see we have Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, and most entities that I've been, both private and public, would give their employees Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, and sometimes the day after Christmas. New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, Martin Luther King, President's Day, Memorial Day, Independence Day, Labor Day, New Year's Eve. I mean, I'm just trying to see where that's off path with, maybe not I have never worked with Palm Beach County, but I have worked as a beacon director for a public entity. I don't see them
When you
being
get an
out of the norm.
opportunity, take a look at other municipalities and see if they kind of line up. That's all I'm asking you to
But
do.
Mr. Mayor, we're Pahokee, and if it's not outside of what we've legislated as a governing body, I mean, if Belgrade don't take off for Columbus Day, don't mean we got to look like Belgrade. I mean, I'm just saying, as the gatekeeper of our particular city, do we agree that they deserve these holidays? And if we do, let's just pass it. Unless I'm if I'm not understanding your concern clearly. Because it sounds like, let's compare with the county and see what the county is doing. Let's compare with other municipalities and see what other municipalities are doing. But me looking at these days, and this is my first year here as a commissioner, I just don't see them being unreasonable.
I think we're all saying the same thing. It's just that people were counting different. They're
Okay.
counting differently. That's what I just got out of it.
I was ear
'Cause it's all
hustling.
yeah.
I was ear hustling
Yeah.
something that was said from the audience, and
Oh, okay.
but
Okay.
City manager, I don't want to insult your intelligence, but I don't want to assume either. In the budget development, was these holidays were factored in?
Oh, I'm sure most definitely.
Yes, they're factored
So
in.
what?
They're-
think
these
so.
are these the same days we take every year.
Yes.
Well, I don't see what I would.
I think the problem, the concern is that,
Commissioner Walker?
I think the concern is that, we're having, tax,
Taxpayers?
thank you, to be paying for paying for extra days that they don't support, because this commission have a lot, more days than we supported of. You know, we sponsor, we allow we allow taxpayer to be to pay. My thoughts not good tonight. I'm sorry, but you know what I'm saying. It's more times I get it.
Okay, you know, the bottom line, we have a schedule, we'll ask to approve it, and that's, you know, part of my biggest concern, that we kind of got away from that. In additional questions?
Yeah, I know now, I know like in the medical facility, I know like Christmas Eve, normally I know with us, we work half a day on like Christmas Eve, stuff like that. We can't take the whole Christmas Eve off. We work up to like 12 o'clock on Christmas Eve, and then you off Christmas Day. Thanksgiving, I know you work Thanksgiving Eve, you off Thanksgiving Day, and you off the day after Thanksgiving. But, you know, but it's budgeted, but, you know, I don't know.
Okay, just for a point of, okay, I'm looking at the Palm Beach County, holiday closing. They have New Year's Day, Martin Luther King Jr. Day, President's Day, Easter, Memorial Day, Independence Day, Labor Day, Columbus Day, Veterans Day, Thanksgiving, that Thursday, Friday, Christmas, they got the Christmas Eve and Christmas and New Year's Day.
How many days that?
Same as this.
About 13.
That's the same thing as say that they have 13, we got 16, but it's fine, whatever we want to approve. That's why I'm just kind of just comparing the time and the days we have.
That's why I say they were counting the
Okay,
days.
any additional questions?
I guess let me say what Ben and Everett is saying, and maybe I'm a bad source of reference. I just don't see an issue with the schedule as that we have it, the schedule as it is being presented to us tonight. And I'm just one vote, and I'm not trying to persuade anyone else of it. As long as it's back financially, one end we say that we have hardworking individuals, and maybe I'm just a bad source of reference, because I used to get 2 weeks off for Christmas. So when I look at these 6 days, it don't seem like a lot to me, whether you do 13, whether you do 16 versus 13. I just don't see where we gonna be doing a disservice to our taxpayers, because some of them gonna be sitting home while they working. So I just don't see the problem. That's just me.
In additional questions?
So what was really the concern of it though? What was it, because they're gonna be out from work an additional day? I'm saying because they're not on the.
I know express my,
The concern
is they got 16 days from what I mean.
It's a 3-day difference, that's his concern. And if taxpayers are paying for it, that's the concern. That's what Mr. Walker was saying.
In additional questions?
Well, they work 16 to 13, taxpayers still got.
Hearing none, are you ready for vote? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Not really.
Not
I
really.
don't really.
Commissioner Everett,
Yes.
Commissioner Hill,
Yes.
Commissioner Walker,
I don't understand it, so I'm not.
What we're doing right now, Commissioner Walker, we have a list of holidays that being proposed that the city will be taking in the next fiscal year 2018 in 2019. So we got a total of 16 total. At least we know what days that is being taken off, and they're asking us to approve it. Staff is.
Well, wait, what, 16 days?
Yes, ma'am. As listed here.
Why 16? The Florida holidays, for the Florida holidays?
Yes, that's included Florida holiday.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I think.
What's your vote?
All right, yes.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mayor Bab?
Yes. Thank you, City Clerk. Thank you, Commissioners. The holiday schedule is approved by unanimous vote.
No, you,
Okay, now we'll move to
concern was,
the ordinance 2018-04. City Attorney.
Mr. Mayor, this is the second reading, public hearing on an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Pahokee, Florida, prohibiting the parking of certain vehicles in residential zoning districts, including the core district, providing for severability, inclusion in the code, and effective date.
Thank you, City Attorney. City Commissioners haven't had resolution. Let me open this up for a public hearing before we entertain the motion for approval. I now open the public hearing on ordinance 2018-04. Are there anyone in the audience wish to address this resolution?
Bobby Colvin, 3096 Bacon Point Road. So far in the discussion of the ordinance, I haven't heard anything about being grandfathered in for anything. I know anytime an ordinance is passed where they say no more mobile homes or something like this, there are usually some stipulations that say those that have the mobile home, they're grandfathered in, and other things also. I don't own a truck like that, and so I'm not influenced by that. But I'm trying to picture myself if I were a truck driver and I'd lived in this town for 10 years or more, and I depended on driving, this ordinance would cause me to seriously consider moving somewhere else. I understand if you say those that move in the future can't. And I also understand if it's a whole fleet of trucks, that can be a problem. But if it's a person that has a truck and they park it and they've been parking it for years, I think something should be done to grandfather them in to the situation, because my pickup in my yard was broken into twice in the last 2 years, and it was in my yard. I made the mistake of parking it a little bit closer to the road but nevertheless it was broken into, and I can only imagine what would happen with the semis. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Are there any additional comments? Mr. Morris.
Carl Morrison Senior, 2587 Southwest 14th Terrace. He made a valid point. Even though we realize it's for the inner structure of the city, it's for the roads can only handle so much weight. But let's be real at the same time. You have residents who've been here 30 and 40 years, and that's how they make their living. So you have to consider that. Straight out, you have to consider that. How often and what route do they take as far as getting home? Now, if they just riding up and down, hey, do what you have to do, but it's a person park their vehicle on their personal property. And yes, I understand you thinking about making a place where they can park, but who's gonna be responsible? Not if it get broken into, the question is when it get broken into.
Thank you, sir. Are there anyone else wishing to address the commission on this particular resolution? Ordinance, I'm sorry. Hearing none, I will close the public hearing on ordinance 2018-04. City Commissioners, having had ordinance 2018-04 properly read into the minutes, had a second reading, a public hearing, what's your pleasure?
Mr. Mayor, if I'm in order, I would like to offer motion that we accept ordinance 2018-04.
Second.
It has been moved by Commissioner Everett and properly second by Vice Mayor Mervin for the adoption of ordinance 2018-04. Call for question.
Yes, sir. I do have a question. In conversation with, I had two citizens that reached out and called me. One was on the side of taking in consideration the truck drivers, especially those who make their living. One sent word for me to give them a call because there is an individual parking in their neighborhood that doesn't live there. And it's causing some issues with children catching the bus. So compromising property and what have you. So we have an issue, a dynamic, and you have individuals on both sides. I had one interesting perspective brought to me and I want to say this before I go into that. I'm in full support of putting in an ordinance that would regulate trucks and the possibility of them compromising infrastructure. But like any rule or ordinance put in place, there can always be provisions. And one interesting perspective that was brought up was concerning allowing an individual, if they could park their vehicle, that particular truck in their yard, maybe out of plain view, as long as it is not compromising infrastructure, may be a happy medium. But I do want to go on the record to say I do support us setting some type of standard, because just like we have residents that are in support of allowing truckers to park their vehicles, you have other citizens that had a citizen in particular call me complaining about individuals parking their trucks in areas where they don't live. So we need to set some type of parameter, but if there can be a provision put in there, if the yard is big enough that they can park their vehicle, as long as it's out of plain sight, it doesn't compromise the infrastructure in that community, I would definitely support that. But we do need to put something, some type of regulation in place that will address those issues where off Baker Point, you have an individual that got a truck lot, Then you have Shive Island, you have an individual that doesn't live there, from my understanding, from what I was told, parking their vehicle there. So now that's an inconvenience to people that pay taxes too. In a community, they don't drive trucks, but the truck is being parked there. So there's a dynamic that we need to address, and we need to be fair across the board.
Any other comments or questions from the City Commission? And I really like the idea of maybe having some type of compromise, especially if we allow the vehicle to be parked on only private property if it's in a residential area, and it need to be possibly limited to one vehicle. That could be a compromise for consideration.
But we also need, in keeping in mind, we also need to keep in mind, if we're looking towards a foreseeable future and also attracting housing and communities, we also need to keep in mind, depending on how progressive we want to be as a city in the community, there may be some neighborhoods where that may not be, allowed. And I know that's in a future that we're praying and hoping for. But I want to definitely go on record. I support an ordinance that would set some type of boundary because we do have citizens that live in our community that are being inconvenienced by not having some type of boundary. But if it could be placed on someone's private property out of plain sight, I definitely would support it.
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I want to remind the commission, the city of South Bay passed this ordinance probably about 45 days ago. And these types of trucks are not allowed in residential areas in South Bay whatsoever. And what they've been able to do is provide a place, just like we're recommending, where these types of vehicles can park. They even paid the first 2 months of parking for the drivers. They haven't had any issues with break-ins, except, not saying it won't happen, because it can happen. It will happen if you're not, cautious. They passed that ordinance because at the end of the day, 1 truck, 2 trucks, 3 trucks, it affected the infrastructure. And that's the big elephant in the room, is how do you find the funding to repair streets that are already 45 years in disrepair? And no one's talking about that. And that's one of the reasons why we travel to Tallahassee, is to find those funds to replace our infrastructure. At the same time, you have to strike a balance with employment for residents who this is their livelihood. And at the same time, you have to be forthright and think, for the future. As Commissioner Everett said, how do you want your community to look if you're trying to develop economic development and housing? If you build new, let's say you build a community of 100 houses, brand new houses, new streets, sidewalks, you wouldn't put trucks in there. It would destroy that community in less than 5 years. That's just facts. So I'm in agreement there has to be some revision somewhere in this, so we can ensure that we don't drastically, make a change, even though our city right next door drastically made that change. And they just moved forward. So this commission has to make that decision to drastically make that change to affect all truck drivers and for them to find a place to park overnight, knowing that it will affect them in some type of way, as far as will the vehicle get broken into or vandalized. They're not going to be put out of a job. They just have the ability to not be able to control maybe that vehicle being watched 24 hours a day. I was one way with this issue at one point, and that was to ban trucks. But, we're going to have to find some type of happy medium that pleases everybody. I think if this passes, maybe it won't pass tonight, maybe we kind of take it off the table, go back and have some more discussion. Don't know. But if it does pass, maybe it doesn't take effect immediately. Maybe we take another 45 days to work out some particulars and get some type of a plan in place where the trucks could go. We got a lot of trucks. We got a lot of truck drivers, and it's not just agricultural. We got long distance drivers as well. And so we certainly want to be, mindful of how we affect everybody's employment, with the intent of understanding that we have to protect our infrastructure as well. So I don't know what the right answer is, City Attorney, tonight, because we're on second reading.
Maybe have a
Maybe,
I have a
I don't want to
question.
say meeting about trucks, but I think there needs to be some additional conversation or something that we can come up
I
with that's a happy medium that we can come back with.
But you may not say
that-
meeting, but maybe we need to
Engage the community.
engage that aspect of that community that it may impact. Now, I
Well,
want to
think
go
we
on
already-
record again.
I think we already know what they're thinking. We just have to come up with something that works.
I think that we need to provide them with options. South
Correct.
Bay have options. They can go and park those trucks at a truck
Correct.
Belgrade have options. They can go. We don't have that. So I wouldn't dare.
Well, Commissioner Hill, sorry to cut you off. We have it, but the actual owner of this particular location, the owner is still on the fence about how to set up liability if the truck's parked there at night, because they don't want to be responsible if someone breaks into it. So there's a discussion on the table with this particular owner at this particular site, and it's ongoing right now, Mayor and Commission.
Okay.
I think the ideal of tabling it, coming back for some
Right,
additional
exactly.
discussion and dialogue to reach some type of medium or happy compromise, for lack of a better word. And my suggestion is to allow this ordinance to be suspended until we can work on that language.
Exactly.
It may come to a point where we're not able to do very much, but I think we should do our due diligently as much as possible to try to create an environment that both can survive and flourish in. So that would be my suggestion in the comments part, but I do like the idea of going back to the drawing board sort of to look at it.
But what I will say, that we need to take in consideration and keep in mind is that just like we have citizens that express concern about this ordinance being enforced, you do have citizens that are also expressing concerns about being inconvenienced by truckers. So we need to keep that in mind as well. You know, and regardless of which direction this ordinance goes, a lot of times people like to say, well, we pay taxes, but I may not agree with the political climate our country is in, but I still got to pay taxes, or I'm gonna go to jail. But also what we have to keep in mind, either we want a community, because I try to tell citizens not what they want to hear, but I try to engage in dialogue that would get them to think and challenge the issues that they bring to me. You can't have it both ways. We can't complain about riding up McClure Road and it's been overlooked. Funding, may have been rerouted to another road because of business districts and all of that. But we can't complain about these roads and how they're tearing up our vehicles. But then in the other breath, we're making allowances for vehicles that may possibly compromise these roads. So I must say it is not an easy decision to make, but it is a decision. I don't care if we push it back 45 days or 90 days. It's a decision that's going to have to be addressed, and hopefully we can be proactive enough to give some type of options so that no one is inconvenienced too much. But it's a decision that we're going to have to make.
Absolutely. We're definitely not going to take it off the table permanently. We just want to look at it and see if we can make some reasonable compromise.
Sometimes
continue to have
30 days.
Yeah, continue to have city manager and the city attorney work on some more language to address some of those concerns.
Do you want to adjourn this public hearing to 30 days, a date certain, so we don't have to re-advertise it?
Yes, I think that would be appropriate. Could we entertain a motion to that effect, City Commission, to
Another motion.
Substitute motion?
yes?
Mayor, I make a
Either that
motion
or
to
amended
substitute a motion to table this for 30 days.
I second.
Okay, it's been moved by Vice Mayor Mervin and properly second by Commissioner Hill that we table this ordinance for 30 days so that it will allow the city attorney and the city manager to tweak and come up with some other alternative that would maybe make this more workable to the public. Call for questions. Hearing none, are you ready for vote? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Vice Mayor Mervin?
Yes.
Commissioner Hill?
Yes.
Commissioner Everett?
Yes.
Commissioner Walker?
Yes.
Mayor Bab?
Yes. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you, Commissioners. Ordinance 2018-04 has been tabled for 30 days. Next, we'll entertain ordinance 2018-05. This is a second reading. We also will have a public hearing. City Attorney, could you read this into the record?
This is an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Pahokee, Florida, amending section 17-216 of the Code of Laws and Ordinances of the City of Pahokee, providing for enforcement of city noise ordinance violations by law enforcement officers of the state of Florida, providing for conflicts, severability, inclusion in the code, and effective date.
I will now open the public hearing on ordinance 2018-05. Are there anyone in the public wish to address this ordinance at this time? Hearing none, I will now close the public hearing. City Commissioners, having,
Man, you be going fast.
yeah, we should. I think I'm going a little slower today, though, man. I'm slowing down. Okay. City Commissioners, having had ordinance 2018-05 properly read into the minutes, having had a public and second hearing, what's your pleasure?
Mr. Mayor, if I'm in order, I'd like to offer a motion that we accept ordinance 2018-5.
I know.
Second.
Second.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. Ordinance 2018 has been moved by Commissioner Everett and properly seconded by Vice Mayor Mervin for its adoption. Call for question. Commissioner Walker.
What's the purpose? I'm sorry.
The purpose of the ordinance is to allow the law enforcement officers to enforce noise restrictions. The way your ordinance currently reads.
Noise.
Noise, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Right now, your code enforcement process is not effective because by the time a code enforcement officer goes out there, the noise is probably gone. And the code enforcement takes a couple of weeks or even a month to get to a special magistrate. It's not an effective way to enforce noise violations.
Do we allow warning?
Warnings, yes. In the discretion of the officer, they certainly do allow warnings. I would imagine in almost all cases, they go to a residence and say, your music is playing too loud, would you turn it down? And if they do, that's the end of it. If they come back an hour later and if the residence has ignored the officer, then they're probably going to get a notice to appear.
Okay, thank you.
In addition, questions?
Warning. It's up to you.
Hearing none, are you ready for vote? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Everett,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Mervin.
Yes.
Commissioner Hill,
Yes.
Commissioner Walker,
Yes.
Mayor Bab.
Yes. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you, Commissioners. Ordinance 2018-05 passes by a unanimous vote. Now we'll have a proclamation. We discussed this proclamation, but we didn't actually approve it. We approved the concept of having it. So at this time, we'll have our city attorney read it into the record. A Purple Heart City.
Yeah, may I have that because
No.
I tossed my copy. Thank you, sir. This is a proclamation declaring the city of Pahokee a Purple Heart City, whereas the city of Pahokee, Florida has always supported its military veterans population, and whereas the Purple Heart is the oldest military decoration in present use and was initially created as a badge of military merit by General George Washington in 1782, and whereas the Purple Heart was the first American Service Award or decoration made available to the common soldier and is specifically awarded to members of the United States Armed Forces who have been wounded or paid the ultimate sacrifice in combat with a declared enemy of the United States of America. And whereas the mission of the Military Order of the Purple Heart is to foster an environment of goodwill among the combat wounded veteran members and their families, promote patriotism, support legislative initiatives, and most importantly, make sure we never forget. And whereas the City of Pahokee appreciates the sacrifices our Purple Heart recipients made in defending our freedom, and believe it is important that we acknowledge them for their courage and show them the honor and support they have earned. Now therefore, on behalf of the City Commission of the City of Pahokee, and by virtue of the authority invested in the Mayor of the City of Pahokee, he does hereby proclaim the City of Pahokee as a Purple Heart City, and encourage the residents of the City of Pahokee to show their appreciation for the sacrifices the Purple Heart recipients made in defending their freedom, to acknowledge their courage, and to show them the honor and support they have earned.
Thank you, City Attorney. City Commissioners, having had proclamation a Purple Heart City read into the minutes, what's your pleasure?
Mayor, I make a motion to accept the proclamation of the Purple Heart.
Thank you, ma'am.
Purple Heart Cities.
It has been moved by Vice Mayor Mervin and properly seconded by Commissioner Walker that we accept the proclamation a Purple Heart City approval. Call for questions. Hearing none, are you ready for vote? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Vice Mayor Mervin?
Yes.
Commissioner Walker?
Yes.
Commissioner Everett?
Yes.
Commissioner Hill?
Yes.
Mayor Bab?
Yes. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you, Commissioners. The proclamation passed by unanimous vote.
I wonder that why it wasn't done earlier, sooner.
I'm not sure what's happening. This is really becoming a trend now that cities are beginning to recognize their wounded veterans and those who were lost in battle. And this is just a step for us moving forward. I appreciate the support. Actually, some Purple Heart recipient had brought this to my attention. And what I like to do, if we can identify maybe a veteran organization in Pahokee, I don't know if we have one, but if we do, we will present this proclamation to them. In the meantime, it can be housed at the City Hall. And maybe during Veteran Day, we want to, again, just reintroduce this proclamation. Certainly, we're gonna order some signs. If you saw the diagrams of some of the previous signs that I shared, they are very attractive. I think it's just gonna be a good addition to our community that we recognize our veteran in this way. So again, thank you.
Suggest that we to honor any person like at Veterans Day.
Right.
Honor the person, the person that have received the
purple.
You're right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Now we are, I don't think I'm missing anything. We're moving to the mayor's report. I promise to be very brief. I had a meeting with the provost of the State College, Palm Beach State College, last week. Great meeting. We talked about Palm Beach State College role in the Glaze community and how we can work together to serve our residents. One of the things that she has offered on an annual basis is to allow the mayor to choose a date where he can host or she can host an event at the State College free of charge. So that's something we can think about, whether we want to do our state of the city address there or some type of community banquet, or like Mr. Morrison say, recognize our volunteers in our city, those who serve on boards and other aspects of our city. So I'm just asking the city manager and even the commission to try to come up with some idea that we can utilize that facility. It could be a event that we charge for, could be a free event, whatever we want. We got 1 day a year, every day from this day forward, to use the State College. And the State College has some great programs there. We talked about certification program that people not only don't have a high school diploma, but they can get certified in different things like welding and cosmetology. I mean, they have a gym there, they have a student lounge, they have where you can rent laptops, you can check out laptops, they got Wi-Fi. There's a lot going on there, and they're really trying to make our State College here in Belglade competitive to all of their other campuses. So there's nothing like it. You don't have to run to Royal Palm because you think that's a new campus and ours is aging. It's not. Everything they have over there in Lake Worth, in Loxahatchee, they have here in Belglade, and they're going to continue to do that. So just want to remind you of that. Also, the State College is hiring for anyone who has some skills, who may know how to weld and teach welding and other programs. You can actually be hired by the State College, and that's going to be held on Thursday, September. Wait a minute. I take that back to. That's gone. That was the 19th. I'm sorry. I'm gonna end my report at that. So, we'll move into the city manager report.
Good evening, Mayor, Commission, residents, and visitors tonight. Start with some good news. The city of Pahokee has been awarded an additional transportation vehicle. This vehicle is through a grant application that we submitted. We're getting an additional transportation bus. It's 24 seats. So that we're adding another bus to our fleet that's valued at about, I think the bus is valued at about $125,000, $128,000, stand corrected. Our only commitment is we have to purchase, we have to retrofit the bus with the handicap portion that comes with the bus. It's about $12,000. We have that. We have until May 2019 to purchase that, to retrofit the bus with it once it gets here. So, but again, we've been awarded a new transportation bus for Parks and Recreation, more specifically under their senior program. It's a 24-passenger with the ability for handicap access as well. So that's great news for the city of Pahokee. I think that brings our fleet to 3 buses and 2 vans in Parks and Recreation. So that's really good. So that's some additional transportation that we can utilize in the Parks and Recreational Department, more specifically in the senior program for the city of Pahokee. So I want to thank staff for that. And many more to come. So I think I stopped counting, Mayor, on the value that we put in here in the last 18 months. But as you know, it's well over $13 million, and this adds to it. So great job by the staff, and we're still continuing to research additional grants for programs and for equipment, et cetera, across the board. We know we got a long way to go, but this is just another feather in our hat to say that we're progressing in the right direction in our grant department, and being able to secure these types of vehicles and equipment, because it's, we don't have $125,000 sitting around, and so to be awarded this type of vehicle, that speaks volumes to the staff and their commitment in the department that oversees our applications for this type of equipment. So. Our renovations are coming along. Marina, there are a couple of more projects that are still on the table that have to be completed, and hopefully we can get those, we can bring those to a conclusion over the next several weeks. We know one particular renovation will take some time, and that's, you know, the deck being built onto the restaurant. We know that'll take some time, but as far as the state is concerned, they have reached their timeline with us, so we now have to begin, you know, reporting all of our expenditures to the state, and we have begun doing that on a consistent basis to DEO, Department of Economic Opportunity. You know, we don't suspect any issues with how we've expended the money, how we plan to expend the remaining dollars, even though that tends to be a question every now and then through public records requests, and that's fine. We certainly want to oblige the community and be very transparent on this particular project, because we know it's has received a lot of conversation and public review on what we're doing. And so, but I'm very pleased with where the project is. As I said, we have 3 other major projects we have to complete, and it's looking good. It's looking really good. We are hosting Tri-Cities Barbecue this year in the city of Pahokee, and we definitely will be done by then, Mayor. And so hopefully we'll have, you know, a place where we can present to this community and to visitors and others that is, you know, a standard. But we know we have a ways to go in some of the repairs at the marina. I want to come back to that in a moment. I think I talked about Glaze Citizen Villa and what they're doing currently with the removal of the fencing and some of the sheds, so they can get intently more intricately into those the construction of the drainage pipes. Parks and Recreation, I'm going to review the offer sheet for the renovations to the football field with the city attorney. It's an interest rate I don't really care for, but I know we need to move forward with that particular project because we have our sister cities that are aggressively moving forward with some amenities, and so we need to get our project moving forward. So I'll probably bring that back to the next commission meeting after I have another conversation with the city attorney about that. Pahokee High School, looking good. There are some things that we need to do to wrap this project up. I think they're taking down one more tree and adding a fence on the southern side that's connected to the Perez property. And there's some additional things that need to be wrapped up. For us, the front door is being ordered. A back door is being, I think, made because of the shape of the entryway in the back. And so we'll be wrapping up that project. As you remember, this project was only to take away the eyesore, meaning the external painting, upkeep, installing a system of irrigation, and some more landscaping things. And then hopefully we'll come back early next year and start identifying those funds for the interior renovations, so we can go back out for bid for that. Okay. As it pertains to Commissioner's Park, I've been out to Commissioner's Park. It's really looking wonderful at Commissioner's Park. They put up the fencing around the tennis courts and the basketball court. They're going to start striping that and painting that. They've completed, to a large degree, where the statues will be in a little small courtyard that's adjacent to Bacon Point Road. But I went back and I made a request to change some of what they had installed. It just was not to the standard that I wanted it to be for Commissioner's Park. So they're going to be changing some of those things that you see out there from the road of Bacon Point, from Bacon Point Road, from the view of Bacon Point Road. It's not to the standard that I was expecting, and they know that. But it's a subtle change, but it's something that will affect how those statues and monuments look once they finish, if they make this revision. It's no additional money. It's not a change order, but they have so much more to do. They have to put up the shelter connected to the pavilion. They have to, of course, get into the splash pad. That's a major reconstruction project, and they are adding an entryway gate to the parking lot, because you have a new parking lot now. So this park will have a gate to it, which locks at 8 p.m. They've already put up the LED lighting. Also requested, Mayor, also additional seating for the tennis court area. They're going to go back and revise that as well and try to put in some additional seating there. But that project is coming along very well. They still have a timeline of October 31st, where they have to be done by October 31st. And so we think we know they'll be done. They'll be done. Back to the marina renovations. You know, we've had a lot of discussions about this project. There's always a question of what we're doing to complete this project. I know we have 3 pre-approved leases for the Everglades Reserve Holding to operate as a subleasee of this particular entity if the state cabinet approves those 3 leases, I guess in December. But up to this point, you know, we've had, you know, some challenges with how we communicate, and we've also encountered, the administration has encountered, you know, a lot of public conversations via social media, direct contact, and it hasn't always been good. And, you know, me personally, I think I've been in local government, state government, a combination of almost 23 years. I've been able to build a successful career, and along with that, I've been able to build a career that has professional character, integrity, and a good work ethic. And, you know, when I go to Tallahassee, I take that experience with me. And I've worked in Tallahassee, and I'm very thankful for that experience. But it's allowed me to work for you at the ultimate level of reshaping the pathway for this city. And so, you know, my reputation, you know, you know all about it. You hired me, you reviewed my background, you know where I come from, and you see the results. What I take issue with is when that professional character and that integrity is attacked because of decision making that is being made on this particular project. I've tried to look away from that and take the high road and be understanding and looking at the larger picture. But I can no longer do that, Mayor and Commission. When we partner or make decisions to partner with external organizations, investors, etc., along with that comes the agreement that along that pathway to success for everyone in this community is there's going to be respect, there's going to be some compromising every now and then, there's going to be, you know, an agreement on how to move forward. There's going to be a sense of togetherness and camaraderie, and I get that word from my time when I served in the U.S. military. And so, with that, when you have a partnership, what cannot happen in that partnership is when things are not quite being decided upon where it benefits one individual as versus that doesn't benefit another individual, that there are these derogatory, subjective comments that are made about staff, city manager, this community, particular ethnic groups, people of color. Cannot turn a blind eye to that. And I've had too many examples from this particular partnership that has not, I can't agree with it. And more specifically, I can't in good conscience support agreements or leases or partnerships when everything's going great, I'm King Arthur. When things are not going their way, I'm the devil himself. Now, I just told you what my reputation is. So I'm not concerned about personal attacks on who I am. You can't diffuse that. You can't water it down. You can't even take it to Tallahassee and attack me. But when that becomes a staple of your activity, because things are not quite the way you want them to be, and you want to prod and prone and issue gloom and doom conversations via social media or face-to-face or behind closed doors, and it's about this staff that we've just recognized, and it's about this city administration, and it's blatant, and it continues to happen, you have to review who you're partnering with and make a decision whether it's just the course we want to go, because it's not the course I'm going to continue on every time things are not as wonderful in happy Pahokee that we get attacked. Or someone's calling up to Tallahassee for public records requests to see if I'm spending money correctly. But you my partner on Friday, but on Monday, you're attacking me. So, you know, I got to call a spade now. If you want to be a partner with the city of Pahokee, you need to have ethical behavior, be accountable for your actions, and work with us, not against us. But sitting here tonight, I've been blamed for the Marina pump out station that's been broken for 10 years. Grant mismanagement, which is completely untrue. We've had general contractor assassination of other contractors that people don't like. And to make matters worse, we get our city staff attacked. That's not the type of partnership I want. And so I'm not saying we need to make any decisions tonight, but, you know, city attorney, I got to draw the line in the sand and say, you know, if you want to do business with the city of Pahokee and come in and help this city move forward, kind of ain't gonna be on your terms. And this commission has to make some decisions about some of the things that have been said publicly via social media about this administration, about staff, from this investment group. And it ain't everybody, but we certainly got enough evidence to point to one. And so we need to review that, make some decisions, and move forward. My task is to move this city forward, complete this project, get the best operator in the restaurant as possible so we can get it open within the next coming months. We're going to do that, regardless if it's Everglades Reserve Holding or some other entity out there that wants to come in and move this city forward. We have not blinked an eye on anything that's occurred as far as the negative things that you hear out there. We sort of kind of go high on those things, but as the city manager, it gets to a point where enough is enough. And I have to address that. And I'm addressing it publicly. And when I see Everglades Reserve Holding, I'm going to address it face to face. Because it's sort of at that point where, you know, we can have it both ways when we're trying to be partners with each other, but then hide behind the scenes and do dirty work. So that's where I am tonight. And this commission has to review some of the things that they've seen, they've read, and make some decisions about what is the best pathway forward with this partnership. Who should be included, who should not be included. Thank you, Mayor, Commission, citizens of Pahokee.
Thank you, sir.
City attorney report.
Well, we've got an interesting development in the Techno Marine lawsuit. Their attorney has filed a motion to withdraw. So that usually means their attorney either isn't getting paid or they're in a fight. Which of course brings a smile to my face. But I thought I'd share that with you.
Great.
That's all.
Thank you, sir. We don't have any old business, no new business need to be brought before us. Citizen comments, general concern, citizen. Have any comments, cards from citizen, city attorney?
No.
Thank you, ma'am. Well, we have taken care of all our business, at least the ordinance, proclamations, resolutions. Now it's time for the city commission correspondence, comments, concerns of the city commission. And I will ask you all, it's getting late in the hour, if it's not really pertinent, let's be short and brief. Just a request. And I will start with Commissioner Vice Mayor Murphy.
Mayor, I only have two things. One, that we know we have a midterm election coming up. I'm asking everyone that have not registered to vote to please register to vote. Everyone that has problems with their registration, please go to your nearest voters election office to straighten it out. We know this is a very important race that we know that we are embarking on, and I'm asking everyone that could and would please go exercise your right to vote. Every vote count. We don't need one to say, well, mine doesn't count. It'll be what it is without me or not. You need to exercise your right to vote. So please do that. I think the October the 8th or October the 9th is the deadline to register to vote. So we're asking everyone. There's registration drives throughout the city, everywhere where you can register to vote. I think they even have it now, even on the Google, when you log onto your computer and Google comes up, you can just click on that Google button and it takes you to the election page, the registration page. You can check on your registration, whatever it is, but please exercise your right to vote. We need you to get out and vote. Also on October the 18th, will be the National Night Out, and that's to include the city of South Bay, city of Belgrade, and the city of Pahokee. This is given by the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office District 11, the Western Region Community Policing Unit. It's going to be in South Bay this year from 5 to 8 at Tanner Park, and that's going to be from 5 to 8 at Tanner Park. Night Out of Against Crime 2018. There's going to be flyers. We'll get it out to the radio station, get it out to on the website, so we can have everyone to come out and bring the kids. They're going to have popcorn, all kind of face painting, bounce houses, hot dogs, hamburgers. They're going to have the crime watchdog. They're going to have everything you can imagine out there. The K-9 unit, the Marine unit, the Mountain unit. Everything that consists of the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office. And that's again on Thursday, October the 18th from 5 to 8. That's the Night Out of Crime 35th anniversary. Have a good night. I say this, have a good night.
Thank you, ma'am. Commissioner Everett.
You know, I think the mayor was talking about me when he said be brief. And, you know, I listened to what all y'all had to say. And y'all gonna listen to me, although I get accused of preaching by some from the dais, but I am who I am. But nonetheless, I do have a few things that I want to bring to the attention of my colleagues. Want to ditto what Commissioner Mervin stated in terms of exercising our right to vote, but also let's not forget, I think it's Amendment 4, that will in fact restore the rights of felons. And I'm in full support of that, because any person that has paid their debt to society by serving time, what have you, should have a right to exercise full privileges of being an American citizen. One of the misnomers that I do want to correct, and that was on our last commission meeting. I think, with this political climate in which we're in, it's kind of quintessential for us to resort to social media and not make personal calls or emails or send letters to our elected officials when there are concerns about what side of the fence our politicians stand. But I think I wouldn't be stepping over the line by saying I don't believe any one of the colleagues that I served with was telling PBSO not to do their job on Rod. And I know it might have got somewhat passionate because it's some history attached to Rodden and hanging on that particular street, particularly when we don't have a lot of amenities within our city. Everyone that may stand on the corner, engage in dialogue, isn't criminal. And so, I believe Commissioner Hill was speaking not to telling PBSO, and I know like Wikipedia, Facebook has become, more credible than Time Magazine. But she was not speaking to PBSO not enforcing their not doing their job, but was speaking to specific issues as it relates to our citizens. So I do want to go on the record as saying that we're, in no way telling you, Lieutenant Piccolo, and your men not to do your job. I've had my emails, some inundated with emails, Mr. Williamson, regarding the cemetery and the upkeep of the cemetery. I've kind of asked for a document regarding the cemetery. I don't have it before me with regards to what's the responsibility of the city and responsibility when it comes to the family in terms of upkeep of the grave. I don't want to speak too much to it because I don't have the document, but I'm not a reading teacher, but I'm not bad at comprehending either. And from the document that I read, and I wish that I had it tangible, it does not speak specific to perpetual care. But there were some concerns, families, sending pictures, posting pictures, what have you, about the upkeep of the cemetery. Also, we've been talking a lot, Mr. Mayor, regarding a commissioner's retreat. I think, and we failed to put a date to it. I think we needed to address some concerns that we may have as a commission amongst each other, and also with city manager. Not a finger pointing session, but an opportunity for us to, make sure that we're heading down that path. We got our legislative agenda intact so that when we go to these different days, Palm Beach County Day, State Day, what have you, that we're all singing on the same sheet of music. Also, one of my concerns, and I'm trying to make it quick, is presentation of directors. When we have directors hired in our city, I think it would be great to have them come to the commission meeting so that we can know who are those persons that we are employing in our city. We can say hello, so that we know who's working. Like the recreational director, I was told that we hired one.
Commissioner Everett, what I do when I hire at that level, I don't bring them to commission meetings until after the first 30 days.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you. I did say something about the cemetery. That 30 day, is that to make sure they clear their probationary?
No. I want my directors to get in and get to work and get acclimated to their staff, to the mission and vision, and then we bring them forth. It's a process I've done with every director I've hired.
Okay.
And we're reaching, he'll be here next commission meeting.
And I will say that it's part of the personnel policy that all new staff is introduced to the commission at a commission meeting as soon as possible. That's how the personnel policy reads. So 30 days would probably be within that as soon as possible, but that's what it reads.
Well, I guess that's up for interpretation, because as soon as possible, that's almost a month, and that ain't ASAP. It's just not to take away from their day, not to take away from their time. It's just good to see the person that we have essentially brought into our community. I do want to commend the city manager for speaking to the leases. There have been some polarizing activities that have taken place, and I do want to commend you for speaking up and speaking out, because if we got to change what we present to people. We're not a third world country. We're not looking for missionaries necessarily, and I'm not, and maybe that's a bad analogy, but what I'm saying, we're not a third world country. We are civilized people. We do eat with utensils. We do eat on a plate. So there have been some polarizing comments, in my opinion. I may be shot down on Facebook later for what I just stated, but hey, I'm kind of getting used to it. But we definitely need to set a standard that when we engage in business, we need to do it with the gentleman approach and not resort to tactics. Miss Interim Clerk, could we get a copy of board and committees? I think that was another concern that we brought up, Mr. Williamson, in our last meeting. We need to really look at our boards. Yeah. We need to get them active. One in particular that we can provide some cultures, engage in our community. If there is an issue with how many people are on Rodden, maybe we can provide some alternatives through one of those committees that can do some engaging activity to try to give them another option. We're not Wellington. We don't have Brews Room, a place that I like to go and get wings and just sit up and converse. We're limited with amenities, and so we just can't be about stop, don't do that, don't do this, and not provide those options for our citizens. Next meeting, we need to talk about East Lake Village, where we are with that. I've been out there, people cutting trees, is leaning all over in the canal. But where we are with moving that project over on McClure Road, where is that a part of our legislative agenda for this upcoming year in terms of getting funds to repair that road, because that road is beyond the expiration date of being repaired, and we really need to go aggressively. Barfield, yeah, that's good. Other areas, but we really need to. Those people, my family, we deserve that road deserves some attention, some tender loving care. My last comment, public. We talked about maybe having a public safety committee to address some of the concerns that we have with regards to Rodden Avenue. But again, to Lieutenant Piccolo, definitely, I just don't believe. I don't want you to, because it kind of looked a little took defense on last meeting. I don't want you to think that we're telling you or your men not to do your job. But, and I don't want to go into a history lesson tonight, but Rodden carries some history. And I know all of this talk about residential versus commercial, but Rodden does carry history that's beyond Chandler Williamson. That's beyond Miss Larimore. That's beyond Ken Shane. That road, that street there carries some history, and not everyone. And I know there may be some gang activity, things that we don't know that goes on, but everyone that hangs up there, because I've been guilty of hanging up there, talking with some of the older gentlemen, aren't criminal. And you had Mr. Sonny's Barbershop, whose grandson is right there, Mr. Charles Barbershop, some black businesses that were once up there. So there's some history and some tradition that has been handed. So I want to say that again. We weren't saying not to do your job. We're not trying to enter into a contentious relationship, and our city does pay you a lot of money to do your job. So we're not telling you not to do it. We're just saying, just like with the truckers, I'm for some regulations. And then you got some people that saying, hey, let them park their vehicles. That's no different than some people saying, hey, I may want to talk with my friend about the game,
on the corner. And don't lump me in the same category with someone that may be trying to push some drugs. So just like we want to make a happy median for the truckers, I mean, we can't demonize every person that may walk the sidewalk of Rodney. We can't just pick and choose. So that's my comments tonight. I listened to y'all. Thank you for indulging me.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Walker.
Okay, look, I'm cold.
That sounds like a no comment to me.
I'm going short, but I'm asking me, Mr. Robinson, see, I'm cold. Williamson, to get the, put on the cemetery on Bacon Point Road on the agenda, please. Ms. Clark, but I want to know what's going on with the Bacon Point Road. That probably has on Bacon Point Road. It's like it's digging, and it's digging.
There's some construction going on?
Yeah, I don't know what it is.
I think that's DVI and FDOT that you're referring to. They're doing some things on Bacon Point Road right now.
You see it?
Yeah. They're out there doing the day from like 8 to 5.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, now, good night, everybody. I'm cold.
Thank you, ma'am. Commissioner Hill.
Good night.
Thank you, ma'am. Meeting adjourned. Thank you for coming.